Testing. Testing. You look like. You recognize that? That's
The window.
that's right. Look at that.
Wow, somebody just told me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, he's right.
Yeah. Right there, you want to build on the stones that hold.
Want a holes? One is, take as many as you want. Okay, all right. I'll let you know.
He's not the cigar guy. is he? Huh? He's not the cigar guy.
Good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and begin this evening. Welcome to the City Commission workshop for July 6, 2026. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Plout,
Here.
Commissioner Preston,
Here.
Commissioner Shinetsky,
Here.
Vice Mayor Hudak,
Here.
Mayor Drosky.
Here. Everybody would please stand for a moment of silence in the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Mayor Hudak this evening.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, we have approval of our agenda this evening for July 6, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Preston, seconded by Vice Mayor Hudak. All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Let the record show unanimous consent. Madam Clerk.
For those attending via Zoom online wishing to speak on the item, please click raise hand at the bottom under the reactions tab, and your audio will be unmuted when you're recognized by Mayor Drosky. For those attending via Zoom by telephone, please press *9 to raise your hand, and your audio will be unmuted when you are recognized by Mayor Drosky. Please make sure your audio is unmuted on your end by pressing *6. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. City Attorney, item number 1.
Item number 1 is a discussion regarding city charter amendments and charter review board recommendations.
Great, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July holiday weekend. I hope you saw the fireworks we had at the beach. Actual fireworks, no drones. It was a spectacular show, yes? Absolutely, yes. So tonight is the second in a 2-part series of workshops to discuss charter amendments. Unlike a commission meeting, this is a workshop, which is a discussion amongst the commission. And then the public will have 3 minutes, time minutes at the end to comment. So it's at the end on everything that you have your three minutes. You can sign up with the clerk. Everyone will be heard. We'll stay as long as we need to accommodate those in the chamber and those that are online to make sure that everybody is heard this evening. But the commission will go first with its discussion, and then we'll go to public comment. If you have the agenda or the list of the charter amendments with you, some of them were considered last week. And again, this was done because on the 2nd and the 6th, because there's just a finite number of dates that we have in July to get these workshops scheduled with holidays, with 5 schedules you have to coordinate, with this room being available for other hearings and meetings. There was a finite number, and they just happened to be around the 4th of July holiday. Wasn't done that on purpose, just the way that it worked out, because we have to get the language to the supervisor of elections in early August. So that gives us 2 meetings after today to vote on those. Those will be July 21st and August 4th. So this is not at the stretch of the imagination. This is actually the beginning. So after tonight, July 21st and August 4th will be the 2 dates that the commission votes. We're not voting on anything this evening. We're not wordsmithing anything on the agenda tonight either. We're just discussing conceptually, are these concepts that we want to move forward to potentially put on the ballot in November? That's what we're discussing tonight. Items A, B, discussed on July 2nd, last week's workshop, last Thursday, were discussed items A, B, C, D, E, F, and H. So if you are here for any of those items, those will not be discussed tonight. One meeting too late, unfortunately, but you're early for July 21st. What will be discussed tonight are items G, I, J, and a new K, an item that was proposed by Vice Mayor Hudak at the last meeting regarding super. In order, and then we'll go through them. And again, at the end, the public will have the opportunity. At the last meeting, because there were more items, I just started with the voting order, which is Commissioner Plout, Commissioner Preston, Commissioner Shanetsky, Vice Mayor Hudak, and then myself. And we just rotated randomly between, not randomly, but in that order amongst the items that we had that night. So basically everyone was able to lead off at least once that evening. There's only 4 items tonight, so someone's going to be short. So rather than some kind of prearranged order, I'll just call on anyone that wants to speak first on item G, and then we'll go through the list of those that want to speak. Does anyone want to lead us off this evening? Commissioner Preston boldly volunteered. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The removal of this suggested anyway, removal of this referendum, I think is important that we really look at this. The 1045 project is a result of that area, that property going to referendum, and the public approved it. I think that when you have something, a price, 750, basically $750,000, I think it's a good thing to let it go to referendum, to allow the people to have a say. Other than that, it could be done, and people could say, what happened to that property over there? And they would never know, because it would be done basically from the commission. You just would do away with that. I think it's a good thing to always allow the public a chance to, even if they get voted out, give them a chance to see it, give them a chance to comment, give them a chance to understand what's being proposed. So I think that removal of this would not be a good thing. I'm in favor of leaving it as it is, so that the residents, the people, will have a chance to look into it. It's their property as well. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to the commission. It doesn't belong to our staff. It belongs to the residents, the citizens of Deerfield Beach. which because they are residents, they should have a say into what's going on, even if it's not in their district. The 745 project is in District 2, but it's also in the city of Deerfield Beach. Question is, should Deerfield Beach residents weigh in on that? And my feeling is that they should, when it meets this criteria.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor Hudak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Commissioner Preston. The only thing that I would do is I would change the 750 to 1.5 million. 1.5 million is the 2026 equivalent of 750,000 in the year 2000. So I'm agreement with keeping it in. It is the public's land. It's not our land. But I would move it up to 1.5 million if we're going to make any changes at all.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other lights, so I'll
there was a lot of information given about it. That's what it's going to be for. A medical headquarters, equipment headquarters, and a hotel. Now we're pivoting to possibly looking at, and we have the same developer saying that we'll be making that into a governmental center. That's big pivot. So I really feel that's critical to have the public, have their say on this. I also want to bring out Fire Station 4 on Hillsborough and US 1. That station was built in 1958. It was renovated in 1977. But at one point, I think in the 1990s, the city was thinking about selling that. So it's a critical station in a critical area. So I believe that keep it the way it is right now. If anything, we could have another study analyzing this and seeing if we do need to raise the amount of what the property is worth. But I think at this point, it's very critical to keep it the way it is because Fire Station 4 is public safety. So that's my feeling.
thank you, Commissioner Plow.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree that any property sold that the people own, we should have it go to a referendum so they can decide. I'm just not sure on why the value needs to be less or more. It just seems important to me if you're going to give away any of the city land that's left, that it does need to go to a referendum. But I'm kind of on the fence as to the value because to me, no matter how small it is, it's important that the people know that a piece of land is being sold. So I don't know how to place a value on that, to be honest with you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'm going to fall into the minority on this one. I think the Charter Review Board got it right with their recommendation to remove this restriction. And I'll tell you why is because most cities don't have this type of restriction in their charter, their governing document. So we've inadvertently, I understand the public policy behind it and it makes total sense. But you inadvertently put handcuffs on your city. If you have decided you're going to go ahead and sell a piece of property, now you have to go to referendum and to gear up for a referendum, to hold the referendum results, and then to go to the county for the approvals. You have probably added an additional year, probably 2 years into the process. And if you have a developer that wants to be involved on this particular on that particular project, I don't know how many developers are going to want to wait around for a year or two while you decide to go and have a referendum where the city next to you doesn't have that requirement and they can go build right away if they have a willing city that wants to sell the property. So I think we're inadvertently putting the handcuffs on our city by keeping the restriction, but I can also count up here. So I see that there's 4 of you that want to keep this in the charter. If I suspect if you want to keep the amount at 750,000, there's nothing that needs to be done. If you want to change the amount, then that is what would go on the ballot for the referendum is the new amount. Or if two of you want to change your mind and consider my argument, then to remove it, that also would have to go onto the ballot as well. But if you want to keep it at 750, there's nothing that needs to be done. So again, not a pep rally. So I'll just go, I'm just going to go straight in the voting order for the amount.
Sir, I
No.
have a light.
No. Okay, you have a light. Congratulations, but we're going to have some order tonight. And we're just going to go in voting order like last time because we have to come to some consensus to give to the city attorney. So we'll start with Commissioner Plout and work our way to Commissioner Preston, Shinetsky, Hudak, and myself. And it seems like there's consensus to keep this item in the charter. We just have to come up with an amount. And again, if the amount stays the same, then there's nothing that goes onto the ballot. So Commissioner Plout, you're first.
Well, I would say to keep it simple, not have so many referendums this time around. I would keep it as 750 plus. I did make the statement that I didn't care what the value was if we're giving away public land. I think the people need some input on that. So
Okay.
I would say keep it at 750.
Commissioner Preston,
I concur.
Commissioner Shinetsky.
Okay. I just want to say that, with Dixie Highway, there are a lot of plots of land. We want to do development in Dixie Highway, a lot of plots of land that are about 750 or less. Hopefully we'll be coming up with a vision or plan to transform Dixie Highway. So I like the 750. Also, we're going to have a lot of development coming up. Questions, Pioneer Park, City Hall, the police station. They could be less than 750 or more than 750. I think that's a good amount. I want to say Deerfield Beach is different than most cities. Our infrastructure is different. We only have one entrance and exit. That's different from the other cities. So I say keep it at 750, leave it the way it is. Thank you.
And not that it matters to Commissioner Hudak,
Oh, it
but
doesn't matter. Fine.
yeah, it doesn't. So, Mr. City Attorney, you have consensus to leave item G as it is, and nothing will go on to no change and will not go on to the ballot. Okay, that brings us to item I this evening.
Second.
Brings us to item I this evening, replacement of Charter Section 11.01 beach development restriction with maximum 65-foot height restriction. This comes from the Charter Review Board with a recommended vote of 3-2 in favor. It reads, shall Charter Section 11.01 be amended to remove all charter restrictions on development east of the Intracoastal Waterway, including height limits of 45 feet for commercial and 55 feet for multifamily zone properties, floor area ratio, lot coverage, mixed use, accessory use, and restrictions prohibiting rezoning to commercial and replacing them with a 65-foot maximum height limit for commercial and multifamily zone properties with all other development requirements governed by applicable land development regulations. That's a mouthful there. I will go ahead and jump out on this one. I'll be the bold one to go first. First of all, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of misinformation. Don't believe everything that you read online or in social media because, as I said, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And let me just give you one example of that. At our July 4th holiday, just the other day on the beach, I personally was approached by a person carrying a clipboard, asking me if I was in favor of high rises on the beach. And I said, no. And they asked, well, how do you know that or why? They asked me, is the city commission, are you in favor of the city commission putting high rises on the beach? And I said, no. And they said, well, how do you know that? And I said, because I'm the mayor. That's how I know. And they were telling me that there was going to be 20 to 50 story high-rise buildings built on our beach if this goes through. Well, I can adamantly tell everyone here tonight that I do not, and I don't think any of my colleagues want any of those buildings on our beach. Nobody here wants to look like Boca, Fort Lauderdale, or Pompano. So I'm going to get this out of the way really quick, folks. If any one of my colleagues right now wants 20, 50, 100-story buildings on our beach, raise your hand or acknowledge so right now. Let's get this out of the way so that we can have the proper conversation going forward. I didn't think so. Nobody wants that type of building on our beach. I mean, conversely, I think everyone wants to save the beach, save our beach, save Deerfield Beach, whatever acronym is going out there now. I think we all want that here in Deerfield Beach. You know, this charter restrictions that are in place when they went in were good, and they were well intentioned. But over time, they've led to some unintended consequences. Madam Clerk, do you have the picture they wanted to bring up tonight? And I think you're all familiar with the Surf Rider, and you're going to see a picture hopefully in 2 seconds. That's the Surf Rider motel, just south of the Wyndham. We're all familiar with it. We had a study by the Urban Land Institute. They came in. That is a panel of experts. It's not my opinion. It's not my colleague's opinion. These are outside experts from Deerfield Beach that came in and studied our city. It includes attorneys, architects, developers, engineers, a panel that came in and studied our city. And they said that our restrictions in the charter led to this. No shaking heads. This is what the outside expert said. This is what our beach is going to look like in the future if we let this continue. This is what the future of Deerfield Beach looks like. The future is already here. That's that. If there was an opportunity, a developer would have scooped this up and redeveloped it already, but it hasn't. Why? Because of the restrictions that we have. Now you're gonna have to listen to me all the way out, because I have a lot to say on this particular issue. So it was the Urban Land Institute that came in. Next slide. So they kind of gave us, and we're going to get technical here for a second, but they gave us the site conditions of that property. They gave development options, and they're talking about the floor area ratio, which you probably have heard in conversations around town or whatever, of how this property can potentially be redeveloped. Go ahead, Madam Clerk. So if you just change the floor area ratio a little bit, you can see the numbers that you're not increasing the footprint of the building, you're increasing the floor area ratio on that property. So by just tweaking the numbers a little bit, you're giving the developers a wiggle room, the opportunity to build something different on that particular piece of property. Is there another slide to that or no? And then it just shows the taxable value, which I'm really not overly concerned about, but it does show when properties do get redeveloped, the increase in property value and taxes to the city of Deerfield Beach. Everyone knows about the property tax amendment this fall that the legislature is proposing. So the city is going to have to get ingenious and somehow. And so the properties are going to be redeveloped, whether we want to or not. It's just how do we do it? How do we get there? That's the question that all of you are asking. So doing nothing is not preservation, which is what we all want. Doing nothing is going to be a conscious decision that's going to affect the future generations of our city. And over time, doing nothing may be the very thing that causes us to lose the character and charm that we all are here to protect and to fight for. What strikes me the most is even many residents who oppose the charter restrictions or changes seem to acknowledge that the beach area needs some meaningful improvement to it. The disagreement appears to be over how to get there. Some are suggesting incentives, others are suggesting stricter enforcement or penalties for properties that are not maintained. But any of those approaches in and of itself is not a long-term improvement that the Deerfield Beach needs for our beach. Carrots and sticks, they may help the margins, but they don't create the destination that we want here in Deerfield Beach. They don't attract the businesses that we want, the responsible business owners, the responsible investment, the foot traffic that we can all live with, better restaurants, better retail, or a more vibrant public realm. To create that, the city needs a framework that makes reinvestment feasible, predictable, and attractive, while still preserving the scale, feel, and public character of our beach. In short, we all want the same thing. We all want to protect Deerfield Beach. We all don't want another surf rider. We all don't want 20-story buildings on our beach. We all want the same thing. I think we're all in the same category, but we're throwing stones at each other because no one seems to know how to get there. So tonight, I kind of have my idea and we'll see where it goes. But what we really need for the barrier island is we need a master plan. We can all talk about these concepts tonight. We can all talk about floor area ratio, assuming we all understand even what that means. We can talk about setbacks. We can talk about lot coverage. We can talk about landscaping. We can talk about all those issues until we're blue in the face, but until we have a master plan for the barrier island and what Deerfield Beach wants Deerfield Beach to look like, we need to take those steps and we need to take them carefully. Just like our public safety departments, we're building those from the ground up. We're building those in the image of what you want. We had 20-some charrettes throughout the city, and you have told us what you want to see in your police and your fire departments. We want Deerfield Beach values in our police and fire. We don't want Boca values. We don't want Pompano. We don't want Fort Lauderdale. We want Deerfield Beach. And we want Deerfield Beach's island to reflect Deerfield Beach, not Pompano or anywhere else. So if we can accomplish that, then I think we're on the right track. The 65 feet that was suggested by the Charter Review Board, that's a backstop. So there's a lot of discussion as well, like, hey, what's to prevent a future commission from going rogue and doing whatever they want? Keep in the charter the 65-foot restriction. But we can all have as many workshops, but until that time, until we can come to an agreement on a master plan, then we have the backstop of the 65 feet in place. And you're going to see in a minute from staff that is going to do a factual presentation. We actually have more protections built into our land development code that many of you think as well. So even if we were to scrap everything, like the recommendation is, just to scrap it all, including even the height restriction, there's still protections in our land development code today that would prevent all of this bad development from going on that we all want to avoid. So this is all against the backdrop too of a increasingly menacing state legislature that wants to take away your home rule here in Deerfield Beach. They want more power in Tallahassee and less in Deerfield Beach. And if you've been following politics at all for the last 9 years that I have, they are slowly taking away our powers. And they have enacted a law called the Live Local Act. And for those of you not familiar with it, it gives the state basically gave developers the opportunity to build almost what they want within a mile radius. If there's a building 20 stories a mile away, they can build a building in within that radius, a mile radius for 20 stories, even if it's not zoned or allowed that way by the city. And the city has no say in it. Now, we've had those projects threatened in Deerfield Beach, but it hasn't come to fruition yet, but it's probably only a matter of time. Other cities have had those projects come before them. But this is all in the backdrop of a legislature that wants to take your rights away for home rule here in Deerfield Beach. So as those rights continually erode, Deerfield Beach has to protect itself. We can protect ourselves now with our charter. We can protect ourselves. We can put that into place. So if the big hand in Tallahassee comes down, then at least we have in our charter those protections. That's the backdrop here, but we have to come to an agreement together. So Mr. Howard, you all teed up for your presentation to show the extra protections that we have?
All right. Good evening, Eric Power, Deputy City Manager. So tonight, I'm going to just do a brief presentation, sort of explaining the charter amendment and the land development code, just so everyone has a clearer understanding of the particular sections that are related to the charter. So this is the zoning map of the Barrier Island, and it does have 7 different zoning districts. Open space is S, which is the beach, RS5, which is residential single family. You'll see a CF, which is community facility, which is a church, also our parking lots. You'll see B1, which is residential business, RM25, residential multifamily, and RM10, which is residential family, 10 units per acre. So our B1 district, which I've just highlighted, it's what we often refer to as the S curve. It's just under 10 acres of land. And the remaining area that is utilized for our charter is the RM25 and the RM10 section. So I'm going to show you in a moment, because the code refers to commercial and multifamily. But this is what it means by commercial multifamily. So when it says commercial, it's referring to that B1 section of code. And when it says multifamily, it's referring to the RM25 and the RM10 section of our code. So this is a screenshot directly from the charter. And so again, it's 6 different items, but it's 3 of each, because it relates to the commercial and to the multifamily. So again, commercial being the B1 and the multifamily being the RM25 and the RM10. And it regulates items 1 and 2, which is height, items 3 and 4, which is floor area ratio, and items 5 and 6, which is lot coverage. And you'll notice that it's different for these uses. So the commercial and the multifamily have different regulations because of their code. And the reason for that is this is, again, directly from the land development code. This is land development regulations as they stand. I've just taken this as a spreadsheet so I could highlight the colors. So you'll see in that sort of blue color, those are, again, the height, the lot coverage, and the floor area ratio that are specifically stated in our charter. And the other colors are also regulated in our code, but not stated in the charter. And therefore, you can make variance requests for those. So again, B1 community business, the floor maximum ratio is 1, the lot coverage is 50%, and the maximum height is 45 feet. And for RM25, and the code just lists RM25 3 different ways, and then RM10, it's 0.8 for the lot coverage. I'm sorry, for the floor area ratio, 40% for the lot coverage, and 55 feet for maximum height. So there is an issue with consistency in our code. Things like apartments and hotels are permitted in both districts, but they have different regulation. So just as a quick example to height, because I know sometimes there's questions about that. So I just have the definition of height up here. I know it's part of it's covered, but essentially it's just the vertical distance from what's called the finished grade at the center of the front of the building to the highest point of the roof surface for a flat roof, or the deck line for a mansard, or the mean height between level eaves and ridges for the gable, hip, and gambled. So what that basically means is that if you're looking at a pitched roof, it's about the midpoint is what's considered height. If you're looking at a flat roof, it's the part of the where the parapet ends or the roof begins. So I did this as a quick example where this is top of roof. Above that top of roof would essentially be a parapet, and you wouldn't be counting that particular height. So as an example, just to show you that ways height looks, sometimes you look at a building, you'll see there's architectural features at the top of the building designed just for aesthetics. Those are not actually counted in the definition of what is height. Now, I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention because I know this has been asked before, but these are just 2 quick examples of properties that are on our beach related to flood elevation. So there are several properties on our Barrier Island. that were built a long time ago, and flood elevation changes periodically. We don't get to control when it changes. But these are just two quick examples of, the first one is the Fire Station 75, built in 1979. I don't know where that thing is, but anyways, original finished floor elevation is 7 feet. If it was going to be built today, it'd have to be 13 feet. So if we wanted to rebuild our fire station, we would have to do a finished floor elevation of 13 feet, and which means that you're starting at 13 feet and then you're building up and counting what the building height is. So again, like this particular building is built right now at 7 feet above the grade of the crown of the road, and then you're counting the height. There's another quick example, the Sunrider, which the mayor recently referenced, was built in 1960, and that original flood elevation was 5 feet, and now it is 13 feet. So again, that's a difference of 8 feet. So if you're going to build anything today, you're building at a finished floor elevation of 13 feet, and then rising up. And of course, this is all based on FEMA maps that we're required to follow. So floor area ratio, just a quick example of floor area ratio. I did use the common example of 14,000 square feet. Many lots in the original platted properties of the Barrier Island were 7,000 square feet. And a lot of the lots out there, you'll see they've been doubled. So the most common average lots for about 14,000 square feet out there. So that's why I use that number. So in the RM25, which is a 0.8, that means that you have about 11,200 square feet that you can work with. And then with the B1, which is a 1, it's just 14,000 square feet. So you can kind of see in this particular scenario that you get less lot coverage or lot area in our RM25 property as the 0.8 and what that means. And so as you decide to build higher, as a developer works on this type of designing what they can do, they recognize how much of the area they get to utilize based on the square footage of the property. And then conversely, lot coverage, which is a very similar concept and not often used together, is 40% and 50%. So in the RM25, you're restricted to 40% of your entire property can be a building, whereas in the B1, 50%. And remember, this is just the building. This doesn't include things like a parking lot, an accessory structure, something like a pool. This is just the building itself. So in an RM25 situation, 40%, which would be, again, the same scenario, about 5,600 square feet that you could utilize. And then in the B1, it'd be about 7,000 square feet, or obviously half. And finally, actually, just go back before I bring this part. So what a developer would have to do is essentially look at all those different regulations, whether it's setbacks, the landscape area, the lot, the height, the floor area ratio, and that's how they determine what size building they can build, and that's how they develop plans that they bring forward to the city. And finally, 11.02 is the Main Beach parking lot, and I wanted to provide a graphic.
Excuse me, just keep it down, please.
I wanted to,
Okay,
okay,
thank you.
no problem. I just want to provide a graphic example to what it is. So if you read the bottom of 11.2, there's legal descriptions to where the parking lots are. So GIS made this map for us. It basically shows, I know we commonly refer to what we all call the Main Beach parking lot, and that is part of 1102, but the two properties to the north where the fire station are, and then additional parcels that are parallel parking spaces up further north are all considered as part of the Main Beach parking lot charter. Do you have any specific questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
Any question, my colleagues, for Mr. Power? Just stay tuned in case they do when it's their turn to speak, but thank you.
Sure, thank you.
So again, I want to just reiterate that for the 1,000th time that no one is suggesting Deerfield Beach looks like Pompano or Boca or Fort Lauderdale. I mean, nor is this suggestion. Is that the soccer score? But again, no one is also suggesting that this is a blank check to the developer or unlimited that live there, to those that visit there, and to the residents that don't live there as well. But we need to protect that beach. There's an opportunity here to thread the needle between those that want to gut the charter provisions and those that want to basically some that want to tweak it and those that want to gut it as well, but there's an opportunity to thread that needle here. If we do the master plan, and that is an opportunity, we'll, just like public safety, we'll do as many charrettes as we need to get that public opinion and put it together with experts as to what your opinions are so that we can come to consensus as to what the floor area ratio should be, or what the lot coverage should be, or what the landscaping should be. That's the issues that we can all come to a community together and decide what we want to do in Deerfield Beach. That if we implement the master plan, and while we do that, we have the 65-foot as the backstop, with the existing land development code provisions that we have that Mr. Power talked about, I think we can thread this needle and make Deerfield Beach what we want it to be, and not what others want us to look like. I think we can do that together if we all work together on that, and that is my suggestion how we get there. If no one wants to turn on their light, I'll just do it in rotating order like last time. And Commissioner Plout, that would be you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very happy to hear that everybody in this room, including the folks sitting up here, don't want to have giant buildings. We don't want to be Pompano, Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton. We're a very special city. And I think that people do worry about the skyscrapers. The person with the clipboard approached me as well. And what they thought about what we were about to do or what we wanted to do is wrong. I think that there's not a lot of people that understand lot coverage or floor area ratio. What they understand is height. And that's the one thing that binds us all together is we don't want this height. I think the height restriction should stay in the charter. But you know what? The charter doesn't give you the protections. Having it things like this in the charter don't give you the protections that you think, because I've had it brought to my attention, and I've noticed some buildings that have been built since 2002 here that have the buildings very close up to the sidewalk. The landscaping has grown up on some of the areas. I mean, some of the taller floors, right up on their porch. And I thought, if these charter protections are keeping these buildings smaller and having all this landscaping and setback, how was that building built? So I had them pull a few records for me, and what I found out was they had variances that they asked for and received on setbacks. They had variances they received and got through the process for landscaping. One building I looked at was supposed to have 30 feet of landscaping. They knocked that down not once, but twice. 2 different variances were requested till it was down to 6 feet. So this is true. And so the protections I don't see are completely guaranteed, because some buildings have been able to get these variances, and some other folks have changed from their buildings from residential. So the other thing that I see is I don't exactly agree with mixed use. They within these protections, they don't want mixed use on any commercial or residential buildings. And as I go around and stay in hotels and different places, regardless of the height of the building, mixed use is a thing that happens. Now, what I'm saying about that is, if you're going to build a more upscale hotel or some type of residence, the mixed use means that down on the first floor, there could be some retail, some maybe a small restaurant or something like that. And I believe that most of the hotels are built like that now. When I go up to Orlando for some of these conferences that I go to for the Florida League of Cities. A lot of times, I don't want to take my rental car out, and some of us go by Brightline. We don't have a car, and there's no walkable place that I can go to and get a sub at Publix or something like that. But within these hotels on the first floor, there might be like a convenience store where I can, pick up, something to eat and bring up to my room or something like that. And it's not a Comfort Inn where you just have your room and there's nothing else except for a machine. So I don't like the exclusion of mixed use. It's archaic, and I don't see anything wrong with having some type of a little bit more of an upscale hotel. It doesn't have to be right on the beach on 21st, and we're not building on the sand, but within the S curve, and then this very, very small area that was on here of the B1, that's not a real big area. Most of this Barrier Island is residential. Also, people were worried about the additional traffic by building a building, but I could promise you that if you did a traffic study on a smaller type hotel with some mixed use, you're not going to see a lot of extra traffic from that, because what we want to is have some tourists come down here, and they're going to stay there. They're going to want to stay there. They're going to want to go to the restaurants on Deerfield Beach. They're going to want to use the freebie system that we have to move around town. And so if you live here and you work here, you're not going to be fighting a battle with tourists to go to work or come home from work. So I don't see as much of a traffic problem as people might envision. There's some area north of Flanagan's, that big office building. Why do we have an office building there? Why not, if that was possible, to have some kind of decent place that people could come on vacation instead of going to an office building? I don't even know who owns it, but it's an ugly building, and it's not on the beach. It's on A1A. Yes, it's down it's on the Barrier Island. But I'm just throwing some things out there. So we need a master plan to look at all these things and see which ones make sense. But when all is said and done, the public is going to decide in November. So we're not going to be stupid enough to write a referendum that is a clay pigeon that's just going to get shot out of the air and put us where we're at right now, which is no change at all. Because the thought process that was put into this whole situation with the commission that was involved at the time and and all that, this is not that commission. We've already just said that we don't want these giant buildings. So the public is going to decide in November. So it has to be something that makes sense and that everybody likes. And for right now, that's all I have to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in the voting order would be Commissioner Preston.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's start with that this charter, as it's written, it severely restricts a developer's ability to develop. But let's also start with the people who live on the barrier should have the loudest voice on this issue because they live there. When you read the restrictions, if you read right now, it says shall Charter Section 11.01 be amended to remove all charter restrictions on development. If you read it, it says to remove all charter restrictions on development east of the Intracoastal Waterway, including into the height limit. It's that word all, remove all of the charter restriction. Now, if you remove all of the charter restrictions on on the people that live there, and make it easier. You remove all of that. It leaves the people that live there without a voice. It leaves them without any protection because you are voting to remove all of the restrictions on development. And it's that statement that really bothers me. The people, I won't say all because I don't know I don't know a lot of the people that are here, but I would suggest that most of the people here are here to say, listen to my concerns. I live there. I am going to be more affected by what happens more than probably anybody else in the city because they live there. The question is, can there be some measured growth? And I think my feeling is that I believe a lot of the people here could actually live with the 65-foot height limitation. But what they're afraid of is that if you open the door and start tinkering with it, then that could go away. And they won't have the protection that they have now. And so, that's how I'm seeing it. I've thought about this thing over and over. I've gotten my sheet out. Cons versus, the challenges, pros, cons, that sort of thing. And I think that the people who live there should have the loudest voice on this. I mean, on the 4th of July, there were people all over, and Mayor, I was approached as well, different people over there. But it was those people that were concerned, very concerned, because they live there. And so that I keep that, but I will tell you, I believe that there ought to be some measured growth. Now, how do we find that? I believe that if this makes its way to the referendum or make its way to the voters, I think that the 65-foot height limit, it's something that you could live with. But in the end, the way I am right now, it is that I think for me, I can only speak for myself. I'm leaning more toward the people who live there that would be the most affected. Here's another issue that I have. What about the unintended consequences of development? Other words, the things you don't see. And the developer comes in and everybody's on the same page and it looks good, but all of a sudden something happens in the development. And when the development is over, the people on the barrier will have to live with those unintended consequences of development because the developer will be gone. And so now they got to live with it. And so how do we deal with that? And should we think about that? And I think that we should. And so I'm just challenged that way. And I think that, again, to reiterate, the people over there, their voices should be heard more than anybody else. And so that's where I am. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Shinesky, you're next.
All right. Okay. I like what my colleagues have been saying, the mayor, fellow commissioners, but I think that we're sort of looking at the cart before the horse. I definitely agree with what the mayor says about a master plan, a vision. In fact, several years ago, when we were looking at, talking with ULI, they were saying what the city's lacking is a master plan, a vision. I think we need to have that before we take away the protection. And that's what 11.1 is, 11.01 is, it's the protection. Because live local is very, very prevalent. Live local is a loophole for developers. So if we take away the protection of 11.1 right now, we open up the floodgates. Now, I've been following the news is major litigation in Hollywood, major lawsuits. Developers such as Condra and related had gone projects to Hollywood. In fact, right now, there's even public land that they wanted to develop on and it wasn't agreed upon by the commission. And they said, you know what? Live local, 40% place affordable housing. Guess what? We're taking it right now. Now, realistically, Deerfield Beach is very, very prime real estate. Deerfield Beach is between Boca and Fort Lauderdale. It's 14 miles from Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport. It's only 5 miles from Pompano Beach Air Park. I think by taking away the Florida area ratio, by taking away the width, by taking away the lot size, it leaves us very susceptible to the developer's vision. And I want to make sure the community and the people of Deerfield Beach have their own vision. There's so many things that the community could do. We could put boutique hotels. Developers could also build the same number of units in 3 or 4-story buildings. But what I'm worried about is once that protection, just like a Band-Aid, once that Band-Aid is taken away, then anything goes. The worm is out of the can. So I'm not saying I'm pro or con. What I'm saying is let's give it more time. There's no reason to rush this. In fact, we're going to have a major amendment on the ballot right now, taking away or increasing exemptions for property tax. That means the city could lose $12.5 million. That means we have to go hand in hand to Tallahassee if we need a project. Could we have some money? So this is a major, major issue that we really need to focus on, that the community really needs to really think about, because it's going to affect how we work with the public. So I believe the beach it's a very important issue, but I think at this time, there's nothing wrong to examine this next year. Like the mayor said at the last meeting, we could have a charter revision every single year if we want. So let's do it next year when we have other views, and we could examine this and we could see what other things we can do. I mean, right now we're going in a good direction. At the last CRA meeting, we're looking at branding the S-curve to bring in more commercial businesses. So we're looking at other things as well. I think right now there's no rush on this. Let's examine it properly so that everybody could benefit. Right now, I know Dixie Highway is very, very desolate. Right now, I know where this area, Pioneer Park, is sort of also desolate in a lot of ways. So there are a lot of other directions we could look at. The beach is too valuable right now to just take away that protection. And again, look at what Hollywood is going through. And the bottom line is, I don't want us to become like Hallandale, which is a concrete canyon. I know we have the best interests in hearts, but once that protection is taken away in the charter, we are open to the whims and the litigation of developers. And I don't feel at this time Deerfield Beach deserves that, because we're special compared to the other cities. That's the way I feel.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hudak.
All right. Yeah. So, first of all, I do not agree with the removal of Article 11.01 from the charter, but I am of the opinion that it should be simplified. The limit for the maximum height of any building east of the Intercoastal Highway should be 65 feet. And the removal of sections 7 and 8 to allow for mixed-use retail on the first floor of multifamily hotel properties. I understand the desire of some residents for Article 11.01 to remain in the city's charter, and I do celebrate its success of preventing overdevelopment on the island. It has kept our barrier island unique in all of Broward County, but Article 11.01 has also created unintended consequences of stagnation and decline in our barrier island. There is a perceived distrust of every commission, and through the lens of misinformation and Monday morning quarterbacking, some residents tried to promote this perception at every commission meeting and at every Facebook post. In 1997, that commission decided to pave over a retention pond and build a storage facility. Now, what has happened since then? That retention pond protected those homes on Southeast 8th Avenue. Now, with any kind of moderate rainfall, those homes have flooded twice and almost flooded a third time just this past weekend. So now the taxpayers of today have spent millions of dollars to try to fix that issue. I have asked the city staff to look at every possible option. What would it cost the taxpayers to purchase that storage facility and put back the retention pond? What would it cost the taxpayers to buy 3 or 4 of those homes, building a lift station? What would it cost the taxpayers to raise 8 or 10 of those homes? And what we do for those homes, we have to do for all of the other homes that are flooding in our city, because there are others. Why did the 1997 commission make that decision? I don't know. You can ask the city clerk to figure out who was on the commission and ask them. In 2000, can you put up this slide one more time? Thank you very much. This is, again, the slide for our barrier island. And as Eric pointed out, you could see CF, which is where our main beach parking lot is. You could see where B1 is, which is our S-curve. You could see the majority of our island is RM25. But if you look at the very top, you're going to see one property that is RM10. Why is that one property RM10 when everything else around it is RM25? Well, in 2002, that property owner asked the commission to change the zoning of their property. Why? Because in RM25, the maximum height of a single-family home is 35 feet, and they wanted a 45-foot home. The commission did that. Then they went back to the commission and asked for a variance. So instead of a 35-foot home, they wanted a 45-foot home, and the commission approved that. Why? I don't know. You can go on Google and see who was at the commission in 2002 and ask them. You can ask the city clerk who was on commission in 2002 and ask them. Get the facts. And the reason I bring this up is because the most difficult decision that I've had to make while I'm up here is approving the access project on Federal and Hillsborough Boulevard, or Federal Highway and Eller Drive. That was an extremely difficult decision, one that I did not want to make. I spent hours speaking with our city attorney, trying to figure out what options were available to us. The community there was vehemently against that project. They met with the developer on numerous occasions. I met with them here in City Hall in the chamber. I met with them upstairs in the conference room. I've met with them at the church. I've met with them at their homes. Through their due diligence, they were able to get that project's height reduced by 10 feet. They were able to get the number of units reduced by about 60. They were able to make sure that there were no entranceways in and out going west so that the traffic didn't filter in their neighborhoods. Heck, they didn't even want the people in their neighborhood, so they asked for and got a dog park. They got improvements to Federal Highway. They got over $1.2 million improvement to Eller Drive. But that still wasn't enough. So after I voted based on what our city attorney advised, if the developer proved their case, I had to vote yes. They actually got their own money, pulled it together, and got an attorney. And they went to court to try to prove that the decision that I made, that our city attorney advised me to make, was legally incorrect. And unfortunately, they lost. What that tells me is that the city attorney was accurate. The information he told me was that if I was to vote no, the developer could come back and sue the city, and then all of the taxpayers would have to pay this in order for us to defend that lawsuit. And based on the decision, it sounds like we would have lost that lawsuit, which means that project would have been there anyway, but we wouldn't have had those improvements. And the reason I bring that up is because the 2025 commission was not on the take. The 2025 commission didn't get anything for it. It was legally our decision that we had to make. I seriously doubt the 2002 commission, who made the decision with regards to RM10, was on the take. I doubt that they benefited anything from it. I seriously doubt the 1997 commission that made the decision for the storage unit was on the take. I seriously doubt they got anything from it. These are decisions that we have to make as a commission. It has nothing to do with being on the take. It has nothing to do with benefiting from it. A lot of it has to do with the legal ramifications that are behind it. There is a delicate balance in finding solutions that promote responsible development while preserving the unique character and charm of our barrier island. While the current restrictions have preserved the island's look and feel of 2002, they have also led to some unforeseen circumstances. These results have affected not only the stability of the local businesses, but also the value of the homes on the islands. From 2000 to 2010, the increase in property values on Deerfield Beach's Barrier Island was the third highest among the 9 Broward County cities that have barrier islands, a full 44 percentage points above Fort Lauderdale, which was the 4th highest city. From 2010 to 2025, the increase in property values on Deerfield Beach's Barrier Island was the 3rd lowest among the 9 Broward City Barrier Island communities, and only 9 percentage points above the last city on the list. There is also a future financial challenge that our city will be facing that the recommended modifications to Article 11-01 will contribute to alleviating. The CRA is going to be sunsetting in 2029. Since 2002, the CRA has expensed over $25 million in improvements, infrastructure improvements, the majority of which are on the Barrier Island. If we do not plan for its sunset now, how will future commissions make up for the over 6.6 million annual shortfall? Are they going to vote to increase the millage for all Deerfield Beach residents? Are they going to vote to create a supplemental millage rate for the residents east of Federal Highway, who already pay the highest taxes in the city? Are they going to vote to eliminate infrastructure projects or special events? We all had a great ovation here at the beginning of our commission when we talked about the 4th of July. The CRA committed over $150,000 towards that celebration. If we do not prepare now, in 2029, are the same residents who today want to block any type of reasonable development on the island be in this very chamber and posting on Facebook how this commission was irresponsible and did nothing to prepare for the financial ramifications of the CRA sunset? The proposed simplification of Article 11-01 provide the protections for our residents that our residents are seeking against future commission-granted variances while establishing clear guidelines for responsible development. They allow for the creation of a true village look and feel to our island, while also creating a pathway to prepare for the CRA's sunset in 2029. This approach balances the need to protect our Barrier Islands charter, our character, with the need to plan responsibly for the long-term economic stability of the city and the Barrier Island. Again, I'm proposing that we limit the maximum height of any building east of the Intercoastal Highway waterway to 65 feet, and we remove the sections 7 and 8 to allow for the mixed-use retail on the first floor of multifamily and hotel motel properties. We could do a master plan right now and today with all of these restrictions and nothing's going to change because a master plan will not work. We've got to make some tweaks now so that we can create this master plan. And so that's what my recommendation is. Thank you.
Commissioner Preston, you have your light on again?
When you look at the restrictions that are there for developers, I think everybody in this chamber understood, when this was originally enacted, that there would be restrictions, and those restrictions would be pretty severe. But it was there for a reason. It's because the voters, the people who lived there at the time, was making their voice heard. We don't want to be like anybody. They found something that they could live with. And I will tell you that even with the present restrictions, developers are still going to come. They're still going to come. They're still going. They're not going to let land just stay there. They'll become creative. But I think the voters were saying, this is who we want to be. Sometimes people say that Deerfield Beach does not have an identity. I disagree. The identity is that they were saying a long time ago, this is who we want to be. They were developing an idea about the identity of Deerfield Beach, and that is limited growth, small community. And as a result of that, people have actually come to move here. Now, I think it worked, because if you go look at Boca, and then you go look at Deerfield, and then you skip down to Pompano, keep going to Fort Lauderdale, this unique little area is unique because it doesn't look like any of them. It's unique. And so therefore, what they're fighting for is preservation of that if you open the door, it could be challenging in that it won't stop with 65 foot. I think that's the skepticism, that's the reluctancy, and that is also, the idea that people are just a bit scared. And if they were assured that nothing else could happen, I think that some people would be a little bit more amenable. But I think that the changes that are being proposed, the people are against it because they chose long time ago, when this was enacted, this is who we want to be. This is the kind of city that we want. It is small. We want it to stay small. And what they're saying, is don't tinker with it, because if you do, you open it up. As I said, if you read this, it says, and it bothers me, be amended to remove all charter restrictions on development. That's a big statement. That's a big statement. And it scares me because I don't know what all restrictions would be. I know we're talking about a height limit, but what's beyond the height limit? Things that I don't know. I don't know development like some people know the development. And then if it happens, then I'll say, I didn't know they were talking about this. Too late, because it's gone. And I think that that's the idea of a lot of the people are saying that once you take it away, once it's gone, you're not going to get it back. So.
Nice. Appreciate the enthusiasm. Again, it's not a pep rally. We're trying to work through this, folks. Commissioner Hudak, your light is on.
Yes, it is.
And then Commissioner Shinetsky.
First of all, it is important that the residents make this decision. We're not making this decision. All we're doing is deciding whether it should be on the ballot. Okay, when this was enacted in 2002, this city had 40,000 residents. Now we've got 90,000 residents. It's been 26 years. Who knows what the new residents want? To use your words, there was a point in time
Take the conversations
When-
outside, please.
the residents who were here didn't want the people who moved here from 2002 here. But they're here now, and they are our residents. There are about 2,300 residents that live on Deerfield Beach Island, and 60% of them are renters. Only 40% are owners. So I think And nobody up here has said, take all of the restrictions out. That's what that says, but we're not agreeing to that. What was proposed over here was to just limit the height to 65 feet as opposed to 45 and 55 and allow for mixed use. Those are the two things that we're asking to take out. Everything else can stay. The only thing that I proposed was to tweak the height limit from 45 and 55 to 65 and to allow for mixed use. I personally, if you want to,
Folks, Commissioner Hudak, 1 second, please. Again, we appreciate the enthusiasm, but we're trying to listen to each other. Be respectful.
there are a lot of things in here that I haven't said take out. There's 4 or 5 pages in here. The only thing I said was 7, 8, 9 is any property, single family zoning. I have no problem with 9. I have no problem with 10. The only thing that I am suggesting is that instead of having height restrictions of 45 and 55, you have 65. Flora area maximum coverage, you've got 1 and you got 0.8. Lot coverage, you've got 0.5 and you got 50% and 40%. I say clean it up. If you want to leave the floor area ratio to 1.0, you want to leave the maximum lot coverage to 50, that's fine. So you got 65, 1.0 and 50%. Keep everything else in it except for section 7 and 8, which allows you to have mixed use. Everything else can stay as far as I'm concerned. I have no desire to remove it. And I don't think anybody here has said remove it, except for the Charter Review Committee. But I don't agree with that recommendation. But I do think it needs to be adjusted. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying keep it in there, but tweak it.
Commissioner Shinetsky?
Again, I just think that we need time to really study this. I mean, what I want is, I want to make sure that projects building are not piecemeal without looking at the barrier island as a whole. And I know we're talking about Pompano Beach, we're talking about Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton, right up the block, Hillsborough. I go down A1A. It relaxes me. I like to take a drive down A1A and I look and there's this 10-story, but where huge building, 10 stories. And Hillsborough Beach is a small little city. Now suddenly has this huge Goliath of a building. I don't want that to happen to Deerfield Beach. And it could happen to Deerfield Beach if we tinker with this at this point. I'm not saying down the road we can't examine this. Again, there's no reason why we should rush into this. I just don't want to have the same thing that's happening in Hillsborough Beach, which is going to totally transform that area. I don't want it to happen to Deerfield Beach as well. So I'm just saying, slow down. Let's examine this again. We could bring it up next year again. And that's all I'm asking for. And one other thing, I'm sorry, and I apologize. The bottom line is this: our infrastructure, our sewage, our water is really, 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 really taxed. Our roads. I mean, before we take away this protection, we really need to examine what we need to benefit our city. So that, again, I think we just should examine everything, have a master plan, have a vision, and also examine what our infrastructures could take at this time. Because if we lose, the property tax, we're going to lose a lot of money. That could really stress out. We won't have money for infrastructure, which is what's needed. So just slow down. We shouldn't rush this right now. I'm finished.
Thank you, Commissioner Plout.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't agree with my colleague. We can't slow down. We're here to make decisions for long-term planning. And we're going to lose that CRA money. We could also in November lose tax money, which would hurt this city. And if what we decide to put on that referendum, the public doesn't want, they can vote it down. But we can't just, just throw everything out and say, we're not going to make any changes, any recommendations, slow down. That doesn't make any sense to me. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I think there's consensus to tweak 11.01. How we tweak that, I think the devil is obviously in the details. I think Vice Mayor Hudak, we have to go a little more than 7 and 8. 7 and 8 is the mixed use that you were talking about. 1 and 2 talk about height. So if I didn't hear anybody argue against the 65 feet. So 1 and 2 would automatically be part of the tweaking, as I'm calling it. 3 and 4 are related to floor area ratio, and 5 and 6 are related to lot coverage. Those are the ones that are creating all the problems. The Urban Land Institute said it was the floor area ratio, that just tweaking those percentages can lead to more robust development. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it can also, without increasing the height, we can live with the 65 feet height. And then we can also expand those floor area ratios and the lot coverages. But by leaving those alone, I don't know that it goes, that was the whole purpose of the master plan concept and idea, was to get these, what can the community live with? What can they not live with? Let's have, experts come in. So I think that all needs to be tweaked to make sure that we get it right as to what the residents want. No one's going to come up here tonight and say, I want a floor area ratio of 0.95 or whatever number that they come up with. Nobody's prepared to make that argument from the public tonight, except for maybe a couple, but not for the most part. People are here because they see height. They're scared because they've been misled by online social media posts that there's going to be these large buildings on our beach. That's why the vast majority of people are here, is because they've been misled. And that I wanted to get out of the way at the very beginning. I wanted to get that out of the way at the very beginning was not the case by this commission or any one of us up here. But there has to be a tweaking of some sort that we can live with so that we can accomplish, again, there's future generations that we're looking out for here. And the Sunrider and the hotel and the Royal Blues, those are all real situations that we can all go in our cars and look at today. And that is the future of Deerfield Beach that we're looking at, that I don't think any of us want. And we have to protect against that. So my concept of the master plan to get it right with the community ones was one way of doing it. I don't think 7 and 8 accomplishes that at all. So we have to come up with some type of consensus. I mean, telling the city attorney we want to tweak 11.01 and keep the 65-foot height requirement doesn't really give him a lot of direction. It gives him something to work with in the intervening 3 weeks until July 21. But I don't know that it gives him the full direction that he needs, unless you can play Kreskin tonight and tell me that you've heard something that you can go back and wordsmith tonight, Mr. City Manager. I think we need to, or excuse me, City Attorney, I think we need to give you a little bit more precise.
More direction would be great, please. Thank you.
Correct. Vice Mayor Hudak.
All right, I'll make a recommendation that we keep Article 11-01 in the charter, but we amend it to say the maximum height of any building east of the intercoastal waterway is 65 feet. Limit the floor area ratio of any building east of the intercoastal highway to 1.0. Limit the maximum lot coverage of any building east of the intercoastal waterway to 50%, and remove sections 7 and 8 to allow for mixed-use retail on the first floor of multifamily and hotel motel properties. Everything else should be fine. But I think by doing this, we will be able to create a master plan that accomplishes is what we're trying to do, which is keeping the height at 65 feet and giving the opportunities to create that village feel.
My problem with that suggestion is I don't know that those, other than picking those numbers, I don't know that those are the accurate numbers. These folks haven't had the opportunity to sit down and study them and give us their opinion on what they think the numbers are. It's not for us to decide for them. It's for them to decide what they want in Deerfield Beach. Again, this is for the voters to approve. And the more specific we get, one, it's going to be very difficult to craft ballot language accomplishing that. And then second of all, it's going to be very difficult explaining to the voters in districts 2, 3, and 4, what we're trying to accomplish. District 1 may understand, but 2, 3, and 4 will not understand what they're voting on. So I think we need something a little more that will accomplish the tweaking in 11.01 that we're seeking without picking numbers that we just don't know whether they're representative of the community's feelings or not. Commissioner Preston?
And you're 100% right, Mayor. What will they accept? I'll tell you what they'll accept. Leave it the way it is. Don't change anything. I guarantee you they accept that.
Okay, last warning about the pep rally here, okay, folks? Okay, well, we have to give the city attorney some guidance here on section, I'm sorry. I, or item I for this evening. And anyone? Well, I think. I don't see any lights. Commissioner Shinesky?
Again, it's like playing with a bomb. I don't think my colleague really understands the power of live local. Once we take away the protection, we're susceptible to that. And just maybe he should contact the commissioners in Hollywood and look at the litigation that's going on there. So I think we should slow down because haste could really damage this whole city. And that's what I was elected for, to protect the citizens of Deerfield Beach. So I feel at this time, we need accurate information. I think there's nothing wrong to convene another charter revision or a full examination next year so that we have all the accurate information and we can make the best information. There's no rush because again, once we take that out of the bag, it could be, the floodgates are open. So I think we should leave it the way it is right now, get the best information.
Well, I mean, with respect to live local, I'll respectfully disagree. That power is already there. The state has already given the developers that power. Us removing anything from the charter doesn't have any influence over that whatsoever. That the developers have that power right now today. They could go out and build whatever they want within a mile radius of the barrier islands. So if there's a project in Boca that's within a mile radius, it's subject to being built in Deerfield Beach. So that threat exists as we speak, actually.
But I disagree with one point, Mayor. It slows it down. I mean, developers don't like to be in court. Developers don't like litigation. So if this is the one thing that's slowing it down till we do a full study and examination, I think we should keep that protection for now. I'm not saying that down the road or maybe next year, like I said, we can't examine this again and move forward. But at this point, I think we should slow down. I mean, we just basically on the surface examine this with a whole bunch of other issues. We haven't touched the charter in 24 years. So there's no rush on this. Let's do it right. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so in summary, here's what I'm. Okay, I got it. So here's what I'm hearing. So I'm going down in order. So in the broadest terms that I can give, Commissioner Plount, 11.01 would like to see some tweaking. Commissioner Preston, I think, is open to some tweaking, but it has to be reasonable. But he wants District 1 to have, and the Barrier Island residents to have a say in that. Commissioner Shinesky would not be in favor and want to slow it down and do nothing at this time. Vice Mayor Hudak would be subject to some tweaking for 11.01, and I would be subject to some tweaking to 11.01. So I think you have 3 or 4 that want some tweaking to 11.01. I don't think anyone has come to that solution tonight. So, Mr. City Attorney, what I would propose at this point is, I think there's a lot of information that we have debated amongst ourselves. We're going to be hearing from the public at the end of tonight as well. Why don't we move item aye. And we're gonna have to come up with a date, guys. And we're gonna have a special workshop, and come back on this and then until we can come to consensus that we can give the city attorney, because I don't think we're in a position to do that tonight, but I think if we take the information that we've discussed amongst ourselves, and I think if we take the information that we're going to get from the public, and I think if we take the information that we're going to get from the city attorney, I think we can come back and give something that we can all agree on at a later date, because I don't see it happening tonight right now. So if we can come up with a date, we'll find one, Madam Clerk, and we'll make it work.
Just a reminder, we are on a tight timeline, and so if we want to have that first reading of that ordinance on July 21st, it's going to have to be a date in advance of July 21st.
I understand. Between
give
now
at least a
and-
few days to be able to effectuate whatever occurs at that workshop.
Between now and July 20th, we have to do that. If it's on a Friday, so Friday evening, so be it, but we'll have to squeeze that in. Does anyone have any of my colleagues have any objection? Okay. Madam Clerk, you'll coordinate item I. Do we take a shot at J, or do we go with the same scenario? Okay. Who would like to, we'll move on to item J this evening. Repeal of the Charter Section 11.02 Main Beach Parking Lot Area Use Restrictions. This comes to us from the Charter Review Board on a recommended vote of 4-1. It reads, shall Charter Section 11.02, which limits the designated main beach parking area to parking, roadways, public safety, and restroom facilities, and limited non-commercial uses, restricts any garage to 2 stories, maximum 50% lot coverage, and a 1.0 floor area ratio, and setback restrictions, prohibits commercial use exceeding 15 days annually, and prohibits use of parking to satisfy off-street parking requirements of other properties, be repealed with future development governed by applicable land development regulations. Vice Mayor Hudak,
Thank you.
you boldly have your right to go first.
Yeah, I did. And I put it on just to go first. I don't think we need to remove it, but I do need that we should have some tweaks to it. Okay, so just so that I'm clear, I'm not in favor of removing it. There's ample parking on the beach, with the possible exception of a holiday weekend celebration. Due to its location, the main beach parking lot is mostly used for beachgoers, not individuals looking to patron our business district. I see no need now or in the future to build a parking garage at this location. As such, I have no issues with leaving Article 11.02 in the city charter. I do, however, feel it does need to be modified to reflect the life and times of 2026 and not 2002. And I recommend the following modifications. So if I don't mention it, it can stay, in my opinion. Section A2. Eliminate all references to 2002 land use regulations and replace it with current land use regulations. Section A3. This section mandates that each parking space must be 10 by 20. This restricts the ability to incorporate spaces for compact vehicles, golf carts, motorcycles, and personal scooters. How our residents transverse the city in 2026 is very different than in 2002. There's nothing more frustrating than driving around a full parking lot and seeing a golf cart in a 10 by 20 parking space. In 2026, the average parking space is 9 by 18, and the city should have the ability to adjust the parking space size to accommodate the numerous vehicle types we drive in 2026. I also recommend that we remove sections A5 and sections A7. These sections severely restrict what events can take place on the lot. Whom of us does not believe that the main beach parking lot would be the perfect location for a farmer's market, a food truck event, or a pop-up parklet? Events like these did not exist in 2002, but add to the village feel that we are trying to incorporate into the barrier island, but are currently not allowed to take place in the main beach parking lot.
Okay, before I call, I see you're like Commissioner Shinesky. Before I call on my colleagues, I just want to point out that section 11.02 has an A and a B, and subsection A has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 subsections to that as well. Are my colleagues comfortable going through all 7 as Vice Mayor Hudak has brought out several, couple of those subsections tonight? Or is this better left off putting it with the other item and discussing them together to give you an opportunity to go through and evaluate all the subsections to come back? I don't want to get into a discussion, subsection 5 and 7, if some of my colleagues don't even know what 5 and 7 are, or the implications, or how that plays out, without evaluating all the other subsections as well. If you're prepared to do so tonight, I'm fine with that. But if you need the extra time, we've already created an extra meeting that we're going to reevaluate 1. If you want the time to do so for J, I would suggest just let's decide that now before we get too far in, before someone, an hour from now, someone says I need additional time, and we can just resolve that now. Commissioner Plout, now or more time?
I could
Just that.
I could use some more time on that.
Commissioner Shinesky,
Okay.
more time?
No, I don't need.
You don't need more time. Commissioner Preston? He doesn't need more time.
Say, because I don't need any more time, doesn't mean that we should disregard the request of my colleague, because he needs to be the most prepared. I think that if we give more time, it doesn't hurt anything in this process right now. So I'm okay with his request of a little bit more time.
Okay, so you're ready for tonight, but you're okay with his request for more time?
Absolutely.
Commissioner, Vice Mayor Hudak, you okay with the request for more time? And I will too, so that this makes that easy. So we'll combine G and J. Did I get that right? Excuse me, I and J at a future. You have that, Madam Clerk? I and J? Okay. We're still going to do public comment tonight, folks, so don't worry, don't run off just yet. We want to hear from you, and that will bring us to item K, which we announced at the last meeting, which is not on your agenda because it was not on the agenda for the Charter Review Board, but that doesn't mean that any of my colleagues can't bring up proposed charter amendments, which Vice Mayor Hudak did at the last meeting. So, Vice Mayor, floor is yours for item K.
Item K. Shall the charter be amended to require a supermajority 4/5 vote by the commission for any material changes to the provider of law enforcement and or fire rescue services to the city of Deerfield Beach? The transition to Deerfield Beach law enforcement and fire rescue services has been a tremendous undertaking by city staff, a significant concern to our residents, and a substantial investment by our taxpayers. I firmly believe that we made the right decision. After this fiscal year, the city is projected to save millions of taxpayers' dollars as the result of accepting BSO's termination letter and transitioning to our own public safety services. This represents one of the most significant operational and financial initiatives in the city's history. To accomplish this transition, the city has retained numerous professionals, entered into multiple contracts, invested in equipment and infrastructure, and dedicated thousands of staff hours to ensure a successful implementation. The safety of our residents and responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars are each commission's highest priorities. Given the magnitude of this investment and its long-term impact, I believe our city charter should require a 4/5 supermajority vote of the city commission before any material change is made to the city's law enforcement and or fire rescue providers. Every commission vote that brought us to this point was approved by a 4/5 supermajority. If that level of consensus was appropriate to establish these services, it should also be required for dismantling and or fundamentally changing them. A supermajority requirement ensures that decisions of this magnitude are made only when there is broad agreement among the commission. Changes to essential public safety services carry significant financial, operational, and public safety consequences and should not be determined by a simple majority or a temporary political shift. Requiring a supermajority promotes thoughtful deliberations, encourages collaboration, and helps ensure that any future decision reflects broad support rather than the preference of a narrow majority. It provides stability for our public safety system, protects taxpayers from costly and unnecessary reversals, and ensures that major decisions affecting the safety and financial well-being of our community are made only after careful consideration and broad consensus.
We'll just go in the voting order. After Commissioner Hudak is myself. You brought this up at the last meeting, and so my comments are the same. I concur. Commissioner Plow?
I agree with that because this is such a huge undertaking, what we're doing, changing our police and fire. It took us months to make that decision. It's costing millions of dollars. There's too many people involved, contracts that are being signed to have anything but a supermajority on something like this. It's too important. Public health and safety is the #1 function of any elected official. So I concur with Vice Mayor Hudak. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Shinetsky? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm out of order. Commissioner Preston, then Commissioner Shinetsky.
Thank you, Mayor. Vice Mayor, when you brought this up, I understood the intent. I understand your heart. I don't know if you got the calls, but I've been barraged with calls. Nobody sees it the way you're seeing it. They don't like the 4/5 majority. I think it's a good idea. I know what he's trying to say. If you're going to make a big decision like that, it should have a supermajority. But I think there's one decision better that you make when you're doing something so big. Make it unanimous. Make it unanimous. If you're going to disrupt people's lives, know the commitment that it would take financially, and you're willing to vote on it, and something that big, make it unanimous.
Now, Commissioner Shinetsky, sorry for that.
Okay, that's all right. With all due respect, the optics on this is really bad. I mean, it's really bad, in my opinion. I've spoken to a lot of public safety experts. In fact, this Sunday, I toured every single fire station in Deerfield Beach, 66, 75, 4, 51, the trailer, and 102. I went to every single one. And I asked this question, and this is what they said. And I spoke to firefighters and rescue workers, and they said the same thing. This takes away the flexibility of public safety. So you're actually damaging public safety because we don't know what's going to be down the road. I mean, we didn't, several years ago, we didn't know exactly about Southwest 10th Street construction project, and that's going to be a logistical nightmare, quote. So this takes away the flexibility of public safety. I think this handicaps future city commissioners. I mean, my colleague is always saying that he's here for the future generation. Well, this will handicap future city commissioners and future leaders. If this program will work, I think it could stand by itself. So there's no reason to be afraid to have a simple majority. And I've done research. No other city in South Florida has this. I mean, the optics on it to do it now without full examination is wrong. I feel that's wrong. So I'm definitely in disagreement with this. There's nothing to be afraid of. Let it be simple and majority for the future city commissioners to look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, I think we do have consensus on this one, to move it forward to put on the ballot for discussion on July 21. Okay, with that, we will open it to the public for comment now. Madam Clerk, we're going to call on those that signed up first. Ease
Mr.
up,
Con-
Mrs. Massey.
Mr.
So,
Koenig,
hold on. The city attorney's got to read the rules first. And then we'll call on those that signed up, with the Madam Clerk first, and then those that are in the commission chamber, those that are online.
We are now at public comment. Anyone who wishes to speak, please state your name and address. So you'll have 3 minutes to speak. As a reminder, there are no comments shall be made regarding the personal qualities of any individual to defend persons of ordinary sensibilities. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, who's first?
Mr. Koenig, and then Ms. Montalesco.
Thank you. Tom Connick, 411 East Hillsborough Boulevard, Deerfield Beach, Florida. There is something broken in the city. The fact that something is broken is demonstrated by the fact that we are here tonight because the city commission is desiring to put on the ballot measures that would take away the public's voter power by eliminating from the Deerfield Beach City Charter Articles 11.01 and 11.02, or whatever you may be thinking. Here it is, something as important as this. In 2002, a lot of effort was taken getting information to write a petition, getting signatures, and then having it put on the ballot. And here you are on July 6th, spitballing as to what you may be having the voters vote on July 21st as a first reading. That's wrong. Whatever you take out of the charter, that means that a 3-vote commission can change the land development regulation. Now, I want to address some stuff the mayor said. The mayor spoke about, we hired these experts, the Land Institute. In 2025, they gave their highest award to the Florida legislature for the Live Local Act. Everyone up here condemns the Live Local Act. You're all against it, but if you listen to ULI, you'd applaud it. They're the ones you hired. You paid them $25,000 for a report that you knew would be for development. Now, then he talks about the Sundowner. Oh, if you don't approve what we're going to do on 11-1, look at the city's going to look, or the beach area is going to look like the Sundowner. The city could have brought foreclosure proceedings against the Sundowner years ago, time that you and Commissioner Hudak were on the commission. You could have had a foreclosure action against the Sundowner, but the city has let it stay in that terrible condition. And by the way, who says 65? It ought to be 65 feet. It's 45 feet for commercial. Doing it to 65 feet is a 44% increase. It's how much? Another minute?
Thank you, Mr. Koenig.
You're not going to give me another minute?
There's no extra minute, no. Time's up. Thank you. It doesn't work
They
that
won't do it.
way. Mrs. Manalisco, come on down, please.
Hello, Sophia Manolesco, 536 Northeast 20th Avenue. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I've been a resident of Deerfield Beach since 2002, and I have seen much development happen. I think that we are misunderstanding each other. You're referring to 3 or 4 properties in the center, in the downtown area of the beach. And I don't understand why you can't just change some of the variances or permits for those properties and allow them to build 255 feet or whatever you're saying about having businesses at the bottom of it. What we're concerned about is 65 feet on 4th and 5th and 6th Northeast, where the streets are 20 feet wide, there's no room, and they're buying double lots, and they're building to maximum height of 55 feet on those double lots, and we have triplexes and huge buildings, and between the bridge and where we live, there are 7 developments right now happening. From the bridge to 6th Street. So development is fine in Deerfield Beach. We are booming. Our property values are so high up. We are very happy with the way things are. We are concerned. There's only one bridge. There's going to be that huge development coming up at the Hillsborough. There's going to be, for every house that's being torn down on my side of the neighborhood, they're building a fourplex. And I get it. We can't change that right now. It's happening. The train left the station. We don't need to encourage them. We are going to be overwhelmed with people buying 2-3 lots and building up to 65 feet. It's too much. Please don't come up with this idea. You have a vision, Mayor. Let's see the vision and talk about it before we go ahead and change people's lives inland, not on the beach side. I know what you're talking about, but that's not, why can't you just have a special referendum on that and just change maybe just that little area over there? So that's my recommendation. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, who's next?
Daniel R. Radisa, and then Mr. Wechterman.
I maybe shouldn't speak on J tonight because it's coming down the road, but
Speak to any of them tonight. And just
doesn't
your name
matter,
and
right?
address for the record,
I can
please.
speak on that. Yeah. Okay. So basically,
Just your name and address for the record.
Daniel
please.
Radisson.
Thank you.
I live right there. My house connects to the main beach parking lot. The before the Save Our Beach movement, the city manager and the people who were in control at that time, they coerced the Hilton Hotel. They came to me. The Hilton Hotel offered me $1.2 million for my house at that date. Offered my sister, who was next door, $1 million for her house. And the third guy wanted more money, or we would have done the deal. But they were going to put a 10-story Hilton Hotel on the main beach parking lot. So I don't think anybody here wants that kind of thing going on the main beach parking lot. Now, as we all know, the traffic quagmire there, because the main beach parking lot was put too close to A1A, the bridge, Hillsborough. There's no line of traffic. It's not long enough. It's an absolute mess. The bridge goes up. It's until the traffic is figured out, please don't do anything. And I like Mike. I think Mike and I have the same, I think Mike feels the same way I do, that, the main beach parking lot needs to stay the way it is because it's already a traffic mess. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Richterman, you're up. And who's on deck?
Howard, and then Ms. Bolowich.
Ira Wechterman, Hillsborough, 1423 East Hillsborough Boulevard. There was a time when Miami Beach was a fine example, and its growth and design was sought after by other communities for their own future and prosperity. Many other cities and towns followed the plan. Think Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton, and the newest is Pompano Beach. All over South Florida, we can drive along A1A and experience this growth. Enormous hotel and condominiums blanket the barrier island. Ocean views from a 30-story structure may be exceptional, but what have those buildings done to the lives and comfort of the original residents? These structures have a negative impact on the initial population by increasing the density of the area. It increases road traffic and backups on bridges. The public services, including electricity, water, sewage, police, fire response, now have to deal with an increased population and public services that were not initially prepared for this increase. Evacuation routes in case of emergencies is also problematic. The height and width of these buildings also blocks the cooling breezes coming off the ocean. As the sun moves across the sky, shadows begin to impact the beach. Where there was once a clear and open view, shadows now appear and limit the amount of time spent in the sun. There are a few communities that have not followed this trajectory. Lauderdale by the Sea and Deerfield Beach have both resisted this approach. They have in their chart is restrictions on building heights and setbacks. Lauderdale by the Sea has a 44-foot height. Deerfield Beach has a 50-foot height limit. Both communities have been under attack by real estate and construction industries to change these regulations. Currently in Deerfield Beach, there are proposals to remove or change the charter so that greater heights can be implemented in order to make it more profitable to investors. Excuse me. This is eventually going to be going out to registered voters to decide. Do not let Article 11 be changed. This is our community. Don't surrender it to profiteers. Your vote counts. Keep Article 11.
Thank you, Mr. Weckerman. Howard was next, and then
Ms. Bolovich.
Ms. Bolovich is on deck.
Howard Hamowitz, 536 Northeast 20th Avenue, Deerfield Beach. The few proponents who want to do away with the protections afforded by 1101 always speak to the same small handful of degraded properties, such as the Sunrider, such as Indy Marinos Hotel at A1A in Hillsborough. And what we have here are some greedy landowners who've enjoyed decades of appreciation, who have watched our city up our game, thanks to the CRA, and are now leveraging that against us because they realize that by purposely degrading their properties, they can force our hand to something like this. And I say, let's take our power back. As Tom Connick has pointed out, we have an instrument in place through code enforcement, which we should properly implement, and that will force them to either clean up their act or sell their property for a reasonable price, and then we'll see responsible development. As far as what I've handed out, what we have here is One Ocean Boulevard and Ocean Plaza, both of which were railroaded through prior to 1101 coming in. And there's very little green space, and there's very little setbacks. One Ocean Boulevard actually stretches from avenue to avenue and from street to street, a full city block. And I feel like we are opening the door to something like this coming back again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamowitz. Mrs. Bolovich is up, and who's on deck?
Marge Hilton.
Hello. April Bolovich, 899 Northeast 4th Street. As far as this supermajority idea, why wasn't that brought up before the Charter Review Board for open discussion? With the supermajority requirement, a 3-2 vote means that 2 outvoted commissioners can prevent action supported by 3 commissioners representing 3 districts. This idea silences people. It gives a minority the power to block the will of the majority. Perhaps any proposal to amend the city charter should also require a supermajority vote of the commission before it can be placed on a ballot. That would be ridiculous because we don't want to hog tie our commission. Thank you, Commissioner Preston, for supporting the residents of District 1. And just for the record, Live Local Act sunsets. This is not a permanent law. It sunsets in 2033. From Christina DeChristopher, who had to leave early. She says the city code with the current protection allows a 15% accessory use, which includes restaurants. So the hotel and Royal Blues and Embassy Suites both have allowable restaurants without designating mixed use. But the logic is that if the Royal Blues Hotel was 10 feet higher, the restaurant wouldn't have been shut down because it would have enough traffic. Every single travel article highlights about the high-end Royal Blues almost exclusively praised it for being a hidden gem on a pristine Florida beach. We want to keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Marge Hilton, you're next. And who's on deck?
March Hilton, 1101 Southeast Fifth Court. I've lived in Deerfield since 1968, owned a home in the Cove, and I love Deerfield Beach. The only thing I have to say is the protection of the charter protects the citizens of Deerfield Beach. It gives them the vote and how they want the city and the beach to be. If you take away those protections, then you give that to the developers and to the commission. This commission and the commissions that will come after you. And they can all go vote with the developers. And where will the citizens be? They'll be left behind. So I say, keep the charter as is. Thank you.
Thank you, Marge. Okay, now we'll go to those in the commission chamber that did not sign up. Ms. Massey, you'll be first. Mr. DeChristopher, you'll be second.
Rita Massey,
Spotnik, you'll be
349
third.
Northeast 19th Avenue. I can't believe, Todd, that you really are blaming this whole thing on that Rediger Hotel or whatever you call it today, okay? That the city is to blame for allowing that to go down the way it is. You should have had code enforcement out there years ago. It is the city's fault, your negligence, not you personally, but the city's negligence for allowing that piece of whatever it is next to the Wyndham to deteriorate the way it is. No, this is not a laughing matter. The owner of the Royal Blues Hotel, who's the multimillionaire who lives in Canada, doesn't come to Deerfield at all. He's the one who owns that. He's the one who should be responsible. He should be fined, okay? And we should not allow him to sell the Royal Blues Hotel. We should put a lien on that hotel until he takes care of that rundown property. And don't blame this whole charter on the negligence of the city. Take care. And also on the S-curve too. All those buildings that did not redo themselves and they're empty and everything. Years ago, we were giving them $75,000. You put 75, we'll put 75, and they redid it. We never had a problem with the S-curve. You stopped helping the owners because the city wanted it to be run down. They want to make it an updated whatever, pompano or whatever. But it's not, it's take care of that piece of thing that's over there. Have it condemned. It should be condemned tomorrow.
Thank you, Ms. Massey. Mr. DeChristopher, you're next. All right, Elise, you're up.
Elise Miller Plotkin, 1998 Northeast 7th Street. You talk about a master plan. The city wants a master plan?
Ms. Pop,
Oh,
confused.
you talk about a master plan. What master plan? We have a master plan. We have terrific neighborhood, terrific stores. We don't need commercial space added where the hotels are. If they choose to have a restaurant like the restaurants like the Wyndham does, they could do it. We don't need an addendum to give permission for them to have commercial space on. We have all those empty stores because the owners raise the rent, not because they weren't doing well. You had that little hotel that's empty on the corner when you go over the bridge. That could be commercial space if anyone would buy it. We don't need the charter changed. If you want to change the height to go with code, because they have elevations that need to be raised. I mean, the height of buildings for the protection of water, they could do it now. Where the Surfrider is, you could build a beautiful little 5-story hotel. You don't have to change what we have. It's not going to raise more money. I think it's a terrible idea. We didn't ask you. Just change maybe the height and leave all the restrictions. We do not want changes. It's not going to protect Deerfield from the state of Florida changing the rules. We want it the same. And it's not the height restriction that we're against. Height restriction, we can understand a reasonable one, but you're changing the whole atmosphere of the city. If you have to change the rules with building codes, we have no objection to that. You're making it like all we care about is the height. It's not the height. People come here because we're special. We're not like the other cities. It's walkable. And you don't have to have restaurants on the first floor of the new developments. We have plenty of stores here. We don't need those. Let those do better. We don't need more stores. Keep it what we have. It was put there for a reason. Change the height if you need to go with code. That's all we're asking. I think you already have your mind made up, Mayor, but these people here don't. Listen to the people. We don't need it on the ballot. We like it what we have now. Just change the height if necessary.
Mr. DeChristopher, you're next.
Thank you. Bob DeChristopher, 517 Northeast 6th Avenue. Just a couple of things. We talk about 55 feet or misinformation. I'll talk about that first. Mr. Mayor, you mentioned that if we live local, we'll get more protections if we make this charter amendment. We have the same protections on the existing charter that we would under any charter amendment. Nothing would change. Live local is still out there. Doing this doesn't change any of that. You also mentioned that under Live Local, we would be subject to heights from Boca Raton. That is not correct. It's only the city zoning code that applies to the Live Local in the city. So if you want to state misinformation, that's misinformation. Mr. Hudak stated that, oh, I had to approve access because the city attorney told me I'd have to, or we'd lose the lawsuit. I would defer to the city attorney to tell me he actually told him that he had to vote for it. He had to vote for a zone change or else we'd get sued. No such thing, no such lawsuit. It's because he was threatening to Live Local and the city attorney said we may not win that one. So again, more information from this commission. As far as property values, what determines a property value is what you can build on the land. The more development rights you give them, the higher the price of the land will be. So any developer is going to buy a property based on what he can put on it. And all you're doing is giving developers more options and more opportunity to put more density on the beach. And that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else inside the commission chamber would like to speak? If not, we're going to go to online.
I'm here, sir. Dan Hirsch, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. I want everyone to imagine the District 1 Commissioner was forced to take truth serum tonight. Under that hypothesis, let me bring up what he said last Thursday night, that his opponent in 2019 kept banging the table to move the elections from March to November. While that statement was true, nobody in their wildest dreams could have imagined the strings he would attach to moving the municipal elections. If the string attached is Michael Hudak remaining in office for one day past March 9, 27 election, nobody would be in favor of that. That's not what the Charter Review Board discussed and voted on. The truth serum would force the District 1 Commissioner to admit that they are petrified of Joe Miller and Wayne Adams winning in March and potentially taking up Sheriff Tony's offer for a real feasibility study and a 2-year extension of the contract with BSO. Hudak's reasoning is if there's no election in March of 27, then that scenario can't happen. The objective of moving the municipal elections from March to November was not for Commissioner Hudak to collect another 20 months of salary and benefits and deliberately manipulate the charter question for his own personal benefit. What the District 1 Commissioner brought up at the end of Thursday night's meeting was even more disturbing. He wants to require a supermajority vote to eliminate Rodney Brimlow's police and fire departments. Why is a supermajority needed now when on January 20th, you were happy to have a simple majority vote to fire BSO? You all of a sudden care now about the men and women's lives that you may be disrupting, but you couldn't care less about the men and women of BSO, police and fire's lives that you are disrupting based on a faulty feasibility study prepared by Stockton Reeves, a multiple state of Florida ethics violator, and his made up statistics. Your reason for wanting a supermajority vote on public safety is simply to protect the plan that you, Todd, Bill, and Rodney concocted many years ago to get even with Sheriff Tony. More evidence of this arises to the surface all the time. Did you know, commissioners, that while chief of Deerfield Beach Police Department, Rodney Brimlow took classes on how to start your own police department? The citizens also have a right to know what happened at the Swingers Club. Finally, we have the mayor saying July 2nd, without this supermajority vote protection, the city could potentially go into bankruptcy. Do us all a favor, Mayor. Stop the fear mongering. Stop it. Just stop it. No more fear mongering.
That's funny coming from you of all people. Give me a break. Next, please. Come on down.
Good evening. My name is Larry Koch. I live at 1105 Little Harbor Drive. And I want to thank you for having this meeting and this educational discussion. I prepared a nice little speech, but after listening a lot here tonight, I'm not quite sure how to use it. I'm gonna say I think this was a great meeting in the sense of you're trying to communicate to the public, trying to be instructive and informative. And I agree, there's a lot of stuff that goes around on social media and elsewhere in the community that is not necessarily accurate. So I think this is a good step. I've said before, I'm not opposed at all to responsible development on the Barrier Island. I think probably a lot of people would say we're not opposed to responsible development. My concern is we do not have a common definition of what responsible development means. And you gentlemen demonstrated that more than anyone else tonight by having to defer Article 11.01 and not even being able to give the city lawyer good guidance on what you think. So I think you do have the cart ahead of the horse in that sense. I think it's unfair to ask the public to vote on something when we don't have any kind of commonality, even among you, as to what that really is going to mean. So that's one reason I would encourage you, take the time necessary to do research, analysis, planning, and more public engagement to understand what the people of Deerfield Beach really want. Because I don't think you know that at this point. There's another practical consideration here that I just want to put into play. This came up at the meeting last week. November is going to be a busy ballot. You all talked about the reasons, the importance of local elections. You talked about the concerns about down ballot voting. Well, this is going to be down ballot voting if you put it out there in November. And you really risk people just not even engaging on it because of simply where it's placed. I would encourage you, don't put it on the November ballot. Take the time, defer it. I know, Tom, the idea of deferring and waiting, it's not in my blood either, but the way government works, it takes time. I think it does take time. It may cost money, but you need to have the plan, the vision. You need to do the public engagement. You need to have the cart behind the horse, not in front of it. Defer this, continue to work it. You took a great step tonight. Continue to work on it and put it into play if and when you drive greater consensus and greater commonality of thought. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Coker.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of our beloved island.
We just
and
need
the
your name and address first, please.
Culture home. Is this better?
No. We need your name and address first, please.
Oh, I'm Marcia Weir at the Cove Beach Club at 500 South Ocean Way. I studied what happened to Florida's coastal communities when charter protections did not exist. Before the 1970s, beachfront barrier islands were unregulated. Developers built whatever they wanted as tall as they wanted. You see the results in Deerfield Beach, our Cove Beach Club, Tiara East, Wyndham, Embassy Suites. Every large building was put there by a developer for a profit motive. Then communities began to wake up. In 1973, Lauderdale by the Sea watched towers rising in Fort Lauderdale and wisely voted to put a 33-foot height limit directly into their town charter. Today, it is voted one of the best beach towns in Florida with its low-scale, vibrant village life. Anna Maria Island, Flagler Beach, Siesta Key, Seaside enacted limits of 29 to 35 feet. Delray Beach held to 3 stories and is now one of the most beloved seaside communities on our coast. Every community that held the line on height is celebrated today and is prosperous. Every community that didn't is a sad wall of concrete canyons. Do we really want more 65-foot massive concrete buildings on our sacred shore? I say no. Our large parcels are the S-curve and the main parking lot. Can you imagine our coastal village center filled with massive 7-story cold concrete buildings? It's ironic and sad that everyone in this room says they do not want to become Pompano, yet you are considering removing the only safeguards we have against it. If these charter restrictions are removed, we will become, oh no, Pompano. Commissioners, it is your fiduciary responsibility to act in the interest of your citizens, not developers. Please do your required due diligence. Hold citizen charrettes, create clear vision and master plans with the people you represent before ever considering taking away Charter 11. Be wise, not foolhardy. Join the revered list of courageous city commissioners who preserved their precious barrier islands. Do not let your sad legacy be that you destroyed our sacred seaside sanctuary with 65-foot cold concrete buildings.
Thank you, Mrs. Weir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Adams, you're next.
Good evening, Wayne Adams, 1431 Southwest 5 Terrace, Deerfield. About the elections, we asked this question so many times to different candidates. Some of you right up there on the dais right now about moving the elections from March to November. It's always been something that has arisen, especially on our podcast. And I mean, I had an opinion, you know, and I heard so many different things about, like, you know, if you're trying to get the numbers, then you move it to November. And I heard so many different people on our podcast too say, you know, keep it local because all the issues here need to stay right to March. I agree. I mean, I agree. But I got money out there right now on this campaign, on my campaign. I mean, so to change the rules right now in the middle of the game, to put it on the ballot, I was told that, you know, they had other options at the time at the Charter Review Committee. I'm not sure. I mean, and I think I heard someone say, you know, just to kind of hold off. I think we could hold off maybe and come up with something different if that's what we want to do. But now is not the time. Again, I got money out there right now. I got people doing things for me, already printing up with dates and everything. So, I mean, it's like putting me in limbo right now. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, and I understand I'm not up here trying to blame nobody for one way or the other, because I know as far as what it takes from November to March, I understand both sides. But again, I got money out on this election right now. And I'm full speed ahead, and I'm going to win it. Also, the super majority. I think to get here, we had the simple majority to get us to transition from BSO back to Deerfield Beach Police Department. I don't think that we should handcuff a future new commission with this supermajority. I just don't believe. I, for one, believe the optics. And it seems very disingenuous now to do that. I mean, I was here that night they went, back in the 80s, I believe, 80s or 90s. I was here that night as a young kid that night, sitting in the back, 59 years old. But thank you, no supermajority, simple majority.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Slattery?
John Slattery, 1455 Southeast Fifth Place. Kind of connect some dots here about supermajority, moving elections, people staying in office for 20 months longer. You know, a lot of this goes back to, let's just say it this way, like the truth always comes out. It always comes out. And sometimes to get the truth to come out, you have to do things like FOIA requests. So we've been told over and over again that, you know, the city, the commission is doing the will of the citizens with this move to our own police and fire departments. So I was kind of curious about it. So I did a FOIA request for 4 months. So about from the time that it was announced that this was going to happen through March of this year, for every city commissioner, for the mayor, for the city manager, for the CFO, for the director of public safety, for all emails having anything to do and mentioning in any way police and fire. You know how many emails came in of citizens wanting the move to municipal police and fire? 0. So wanting to make this a supermajority to lock this in is because some people on this dais know that this wasn't actually the will of the citizens and the voters. It was something that became an ego project and forced and suggested, maybe is a better way to say it. And trying to lock this in now by manipulating things is really disingenuous. And it's obvious to the people that are paying attention that you're trying to manipulate things to try to keep this from coming the other way, because the will of the voters will come out as well. And also back to the height, is that 45, 55, 65 feet plus, maybe 13 feet to bring up to the flood level? So is that really like 78 feet in some instances? So that's something to consider as well, just for those of us that can do math. And also, you know, to Mr. Connick's point, like enforce codes on everybody or don't enforce them on anybody. So there are certain people that are probably sitting on some properties that they don't really want to maintain because they want to sell them, but they don't want to sell them until some changes happen and they can get top dollar, right? That it can be higher density and they can ask more money for those properties. Again, kind of obvious. Enforce the codes. If you have to take over those properties because they can't afford to keep them up, then do that. Maybe put in a park in the meantime. All right. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Just name and address for the record, please.
Tammy Sofer. I'm at 500 Southeast, South Ocean Way, sorry. I had a whole speech here to say, but at the risk of being buzzed, I'm going to just jump into the middle. I came because I wanted to respectfully request that you reconsider the proposal with the proposed height increase to 65 feet across the barrier islands. Furthermore, I urge you to begin exploring a permanent 35-foot charter limit to preserve this island for future generations. Let's be honest about what 65 feet really means. That means massive density, suffocating lot coverage, and the loss of the tropical landscaping that gives this island its warmth and soul. We moved here to this island because it was different than the other communities around. Everything about it was different. The feel, the look, the people, and the thought of losing that whole feel it's tragic to me. And so what I ask is, does the wall of 65-foot buildings look like the Deerfield Beach that we all cherish and that we chose to move to because of the beauty? Or does it look like every overdeveloped concrete coastline that we promised we would never become? Every one of the commissioners, from what I understand, has said that you do not want Deerfield Beach to become Pompano Beach. I heard you say it this evening. Yet 65-foot development on our barrier island and S-curve will permanently destroy that unique character. It places a giant for sale sign on one of the last human-scaled beachfront communities in South Florida. If you look at Florida's most beloved coastal communities, Lauderdale by the Sea, Vero Beach, and Anna Maria Island, they became highly desirable, not by building taller, but by protecting the charm and walkability. So to me, charm is economic value. Village scale is our competitive advantage. It's what makes us different. Tonight, I ask that you halt the move toward 65 feet. Preserve the current protections. Recommend citizen-led visioning workshops so the residents of Deerfield Beach can
Thank you, Mrs. Sofer. Appreciate it. Okay, let's keep it down, folks, please. There's others that want to speak.
Hi.
Hi, name and address for the record, please.
I'm Donna Eiley, 1596 Southeast Fifth Street since 1988. Yeah, I want to speak of something that no one else has talked about here, and this is a moral issue. All over the state of Florida, cities are increasing the density on our barrier islands. The big one's coming. And when I talk about the big one, I'm talking about a hurricane. Someday we are going to get a severe hurricane. And I speak from personal experience. I worked for 20 years with the Broward County Health Department. And one of my jobs was to staff the hurricane shelters when the big ones came. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty to evacuate all these people and get them off the island because these barrier islands have to be evacuated. And when we increase density, and I'm not sure what any of these charter changes will do as far as density, I'm sure you're going to be calculating all that. I just want you to keep in mind that there's a human cost to packing the islands with more people. Also, the barrier islands are there for environmental reasons. It helps us deflect hurricanes and protects the mainland when we don't build them up. So I just wanted to speak to that. We have to think about lives, safety, not just the look and the feel. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Eiley.
Hi, Regina Dallin, 1581 Southeast Fifth Street. What is the reason that we raised the height level to 65 feet? I was told that the reason was because of the changes that FEMA made, that when you want to put an addition onto your house, you had to put the base higher. So by putting the base higher, you have to bring the roof up higher. And that was the reason why we're switching to 65 feet. So can someone answer why we're raising the height?
No, this is public comment. We don't, it's not question and answer session. It's for
Oh,
the public
okay.
to give us
Well,
comments. So
the
we're happy to
reason
speak
why-
to you afterwards offline, but not during the
Okay,
meeting.
well, the reason why I'm asking is because at the last charter meeting, they approved the 65 feet. But I thought if the people knew why they were raising the height, they might then understand and agree with you.
Thank you. Anyone else inside the commission chamber like to speak this evening? Come on down, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Joe D'Amico. I live at the Cove Beach Club, 500 Southeast South Way, about 20 years. Every one of your commissioners, everyone in this room, probably the entire city, say that we don't want to become a Pompano, an overdeveloped cold concrete canyon. Yet here we are on the very slippery slope of filling our preserved seaside village with 65 to 75-foot buildings like the Wyndham throughout our Pier Village, the S-curve, and our main parking lot. This makes no sense. It will destroy a low-scale, warm island community, one of the very few island sanctuaries we have on our Florida coast. Our Charter 11 protection exists to preserve this fragile, small island town overdevelopment. 65-foot buildings with more lot coverage and density would destroy our village character. Why are we even considering removing these protections? This is a very bad idea. It will cause real damage to our city. It will divide our community before the referendum. Everyone knows developers and realtors are behind these height increases to maximize profits. No one wants these charter provisions removed except developers and realtors. The Charter Review Board voted was only 3-2 with no real data behind the 65-foot recommendations. Research on successful coastal cities show most height limits are under 45 and many under 35 foot. Then there's traffic, also a nightmare. That more density will only make it worse, turning our streets and bridges into parking lots. Is this responsible development you seek? This will change our warm, welcoming village into an unwalkable beach town of high buildings and worse traffic. Stop the insanity. Listen to the voices of your citizens and developers. We do not want more 65-foot buildings on our shorelines, not developers. This is where researchers show 65-foot is right when coastal data on successful seaside villages say 35 and 45-foot buildings works. Please keep the charter amendments to keep from overdevelopment and destruction of our beautiful village. Save our beautiful beach island tonight. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. D'Amico.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Larry Class, resident of Cove Beach Club, 500 South Ocean Way. I want to speak with a passion about what is before you regarding Charter Article 11.02. This is not a dry debate about planning jargon or parking lots. It's a discussion about power. Moving Article 11.02 out of the city charter and into the planning and zoning code transfers power away from we, the voters of Deerfield Beach, and strips us of our voice. Once those protections leave the charter, they can be weakened, amended, or eliminated by a simple commission vote with zero public referendum required. That is precisely what the voters sought to prevent when they overwhelmingly adopted Article 11 in 2003. We, the people, deliberately placed these guardrails in the charter because we understood a fundamental truth. The barrier island is different. It is fragile, small, and finite. Once it is overbuilt, it is destroyed and can never be restored. Without Charter 11.02 protections, we have no idea what could eventually consume our large central parking lot and our remaining open spaces. Let's be clear about the stakes. Article 11.02 protects far more than the possible parking garage heights and commercial usage. It protects setbacks, lot coverage limits, and the open tropical landscape character that defines our island. If you move these protections of our present parking areas zoned now community facilities into the zoning code, future commissions could change zoning. Commissioners could, with a simple 3-commissioner vote, build whatever they want: commercial sites, mixed-use structures, or vastly increased density with a massive mixed use of residential structure on our main parking lot, now prohibited by Charter 11.02. This is not responsible development. That is removing the guardrails that protect our sacred, beautiful island. So, who should decide the future of the main parking lot? We, the people. The voters answered that question in 2003. We said that the community itself must remain the final guardian of this island. Tonight, we respectfully ask 3 things. 1, keep Article 11.02 in the charter. 2, preserve the voters' rights to decide any major changes to our barrier island main parking areas. 3, protect the setbacks, open space, and low human scale that make Deerfield Beach a unique seaside village. Do not move the Charter 11 guardrails the voters built. Protect our island, protect our seaside sanctuary, protect your legacy. Thank you for hopefully healing.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. Madam Clerk, we're going to shift to online. Who do we have online this evening?
Thomas Nolan.
I went to online. You can come back at the end, please.
Will do.
We're gonna get to everybody. Okay, Thomas Nolan, and who'll be on deck? Okay, we only have one online, so make it real easy. Mr. Nolan, you're up.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, Mr. City Manager, Thomas Nolan, 406 Southeast 8th Avenue. After listening to everybody speak tonight, obviously the consensus is that the development article in the charter, the residents would like to see it stay. A song came to mind, pave paradise and put up a parking lot. I think what everybody there tonight is saying is that we don't want to be Fort Lauderdale. We don't want to be Pompano Beach. I think that this charter amendment coming forward, just doing simple research right now, Hillsborough Mile is building Rosewood, which is a 10-story high-rise on the ocean in their vacant lot in a 3-story buildings on the west side. The amount of traffic that's going to be coming to our island because everybody in Hillsborough Mile uses the Hillsborough Bridge, they're going to be coming through our city. It's not our problem. We can't stop it. But when we're looking at changing how do we develop our island, we have to account for all those different things that are happening around us. So that's on the charter on the development. I'd like to also talk about the supermajority. I am a little bit confused because of the fact that if we want to reverse from the sheriff's office or from doing our own back to the sheriff's office, we want to make it a supermajority. I think that is a great idea if the information that we provided to our residents when we were pushing this issue were inaccurate, because we all know those numbers will come out now and the residents will be able to see the effects. So I'm just trying to figure out, will we see a $500 million savings, or is that no longer going to happen? Because obviously that was touted and spoken about by many commissioners and the person who did the study, Stockton Reeves. So I'm just trying to figure out, was the information that we received as residents inaccurate? And if so, is the city going to do like the Sun Sentinel and have to put out a press release that they provided inaccurate information to its residents? Because I believe most of the residents took that information as factual when that decision was made. Lastly, obviously we know we have a flooding problem. If we're going to add development on the island and we can't figure out flooding problems in our residential neighborhoods, what are we going to do on the island if we increase our density and increase our development when we have flooding issues? Because I know the city's answer right now is there's nothing we can do. So I'm just trying to figure out, is there a plan in place or a new line that we're going to use for the people that live on the island to tell them how to deal with flooding? Because obviously we know that we add density, you add development, you add concrete, and you build higher, there's no watershed. And when we increase watershed, we're going to have more standing water and we're going to have more issues. Everybody in that room is a resident of Deerfield Beach. The people that we're talking about affecting by not allowing them to overdevelop the island are not residents of Deerfield Beach. You have to worry about the people that pay taxes currently. We can't worry about the people that may be here one day. You got to take care of your residents. That's why you were all elected. So do the right thing.
Thank you, Mr. Nolan. Is there anyone else online, Madam Clerk? Okay, we'll go back to in-house. Mr. Estrada, you're up. Thank you for your patience.
Michael Estrada, 1431 Southwest 6th Way. So we've heard tonight several times that the commission isn't deciding whether these changes should happen. They're just simply deciding whether to let the voters decide. But we know it's not that simple. By putting the questions on the ballot, you're deciding that the proposal deserves to move forward. And once it does, it won't be debated on a level playing field. Interests with millions of dollars at stake are going to have the resources to spend heavily persuading voters. Residents won't have those resources. And more importantly, looking at the question before us tonight, it doesn't propose a careful update. It asks voters to remove virtually every development protection currently in the charter and move that power solely into the commission's hands. We're moving too quickly toward a solution before we fully define what the problem is. Commissioner Shinseki made an excellent point. The Urban Land Institute identified the lack of a master plan as one of the city's biggest challenges. Let's solve that first. In fact, why doesn't the city use its current powers under the code enforcement to enact changes to the few buildings that keep being brought up as boogeyman examples of what the beach is going to become? The commission is a steward of Deerfield Beach, but it's the residents and future generations who will live with these decisions long after every one of us has left the room. We have a new police and fire department. The CRA is approaching its expiration, and we're facing potential changes to property taxes. None of you can confidently tell us what these things are going to cost us exactly. This is the time that we need to be deliberate and not rushed. And there's a reason these protections were placed in the city charter instead of the land development code. The charter safeguards the values of the people of Deerfield Beach that we consider fundamental. And part of what's made Deerfield Beach special for a century is that residents chose to protect the unique character of our beach. Once those protections are gone, we're not going to get that opportunity back. I also noticed the proposal requiring a supermajority vote to make future changes to our police and fire department. The justification is that decisions of this magnitude deserve extra deliberation because of their long-term impact. And I agree with that in principle. But where was that same level of caution when the city decided to create its police and fire department? That was one of the most consequential decisions this commission has ever made, and yet many residents felt it moved forward too quickly and too little analysis. Where's that caution when we discuss changes to our beach? If we're now saying that major structural decisions deserve a higher threshold because of their lasting consequences, then the same philosophy should guide us today. You always tout that you're listening to the citizens, but if it's not just lip service, it's been pretty clear tonight what we want. It was pretty clear at the charter review meeting. You've heard from us. So whether it's public safety, our city charter, or the future of the beach, let's slow down, fully understand the problem, and protect the legacy that generations of Deerfield Beach residents have entrusted you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Estrada. Just name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Donahue. I live at the Cove Beach Club, 500 Southeast 21st Avenue, Deerfield Beach. As some of you know, I relocated to Deerfield Beach from New Orleans during November of last year. My husband and I chose to purchase our unit here because of the island's seaside village ambiance, free from the concrete towers that have destroyed many of the city and towns along Florida's coast. We are concerned that the proposed amendments will pass without proper studies and findings disseminated to the commission and made available to the public with specificity to the following. No studies have been completed as to how the construction of higher buildings will impact the flow of traffic, which is already highly problematic, and how the same will impact residents, visitors, and businesses. In the same vein, how will development impact the state of our current roads? Will repairs be necessary? Common sense dictates more people on our roads equals greater hazards, including accidents, resulting in unnecessary strain on our law enforcement and emergency personnel services. How will new construction impact our utility services, water, sewage, garbage, electricity, all of the things that we need for proper infrastructure to keep our town running? How will potential prolonged construction, including street closures, impact our local businesses, which we love and frequent? How will development impact the ability of Deerfield Beach residents, including families and visitors, to enjoy our most precious resource, the Deerfield Beach? This point occurred to my husband and I as we enjoyed this past weekend's 4th of July celebration, so thank you all for that. And last, how will such developments impact our senior citizens, who are the very heart and soul of our community, many of whom have chose to make Deerfield their home because of our seaside village atmosphere? How will noise nuisances and view obstructions and congested traffic that will inevitably materialize during new construction impact their mental and physical well-being? We are proponents of progress. However, based on the limited information in the hands of this commission, it seems at this time it's not just a breach of fiduciary duty, but potentially unconscionable for our city commission to pass these amendments without first performing more thorough studies and providing the results of same to your constituents for consideration before drastic measures. Therefore, we respectfully request Mayor Drodsky and all of our city commissioners vote against passing the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Matthew Donahue, 500 Southeast 21st Avenue. Again, thank you for the opportunity to hear us today. I think we all have a story about the beach and what brings us there, and we heard the unique character, but I think it's a personal thing that we each have, and we can't overlook that, remember it. And we talk about other Florida cities and whatnot. I can experience, I was thrown in the ocean in New York as a 6-month-old and spent my family business with my granny and aunts and uncles being around the ocean. I was very fortunate. And I caddied Shinnecock Hills and worked in restaurants and was at the beach all day and working at night. But when my parents, first came down here, they were staying at one of the little small motels there that else some folks think are eyesores. But I think it brings, it was affordability and a real culture and a feel. And then they made a more regular presence here. And I would just, again, I was so fortunate I was able to visit them, and I'd have work excuses and just having that experience of coming down here on long weekends or whatever. And as much as I love New York and even the Jersey Shore, it's just different here. It's more than just other Florida beaches. And whether you're residing on the island or other parts of Deerfield Beach, other parts of Florida, other parts of the world, it's just, you don't appreciate it until you're there and you experience it. And, I have friends and family come down and you have to experience it. I mean, this one, she used to like go to Destin, and she's not just cute, she's a tough cookie. And so she gave me this hard time. What's the big deal about Deerfield Beach? And so she was here, and it was raining, and we're just riding along by the beach there at 21st Avenue. And her jaw just jumped. And she finally got this idea that this is what it's about. It's an experience. And we need to examine all those aspects about what makes that special, and not make these decisions so quickly and vanilly the cart before the horse and the forest through the trees. I mean, I think we just have to really examine it closely. I mean, and everyone enjoys the beach. We see them down there. There's professional photographs every day. There's weddings, and it's really something so special to all of us, and we have to really maintain that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shine. Final call, last chance for anyone inside the commission chamber to speak this evening. Madam Clerk, anyone online? Are you coming to speak? Okay.
Katie Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street. If anybody is worried, USA is getting beat right now 3-1. We're not happy about that. Really not happy. Okay. The city's at a crossroads. We've got a lot of options. We've got a lot of decisions to make. We have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of items on our plates right now. As a gentleman before me mentioned, the DIAs has the ability and the opportunity to say, yes, we want this on the November ballot, or no, we don't want this on the November ballot. By saying, oh, we're giving the voters the right. Well, that's just a waste of money. Couple years ago, one of the members of the DIA said, I think we should have the right to have more than 2 terms. So let's waste $35,000 so that the voters could say, no, we don't want you to have more than 2 terms. Waste of money. If we lose the option to keep the development on the barrier island and we keep the developers at bay, if we lose the option to keep the development at bay, how do we keep the developers from taking a mile every time we give them an inch? And don't say proper variances, because we all know that those are up for sale depending on who's on the DIAs. There's a lot of Dennis Miles out there. If we champion this right to keep the charter objectives in place, What is our next step? This is something we should have been working on 10 years ago. What is the way, where do we go from here? What is Deerfield Beach's identity? Is it a sleepy little village town? If that's the case, allowing these changes to take place will not allow for that sleepy little village town to stay in place, intact. Let's figure out where we're going from here. We are at a crossroads, but we are the driving. You guys might think you're the limo drivers, but this is the bus that's following you. We're the team. Listen to us. There are not enough developers with boots on the ground that are going to make this pass, make these changes pass. There's not enough voters. I don't care how much money they throw at us. The voters here in Deerfield Beach know better. Years ago, 3 years ago, thousands of people signed petitions. Thousands of people are still sitting here saying, we did this for a reason. They don't want you to forget. Developers want you to forget. May I have one more minute?
You may
30
not.
seconds.
No,
Okay.
sorry, time is up. I've got to be fair. Gotta be fair. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. Listen, we up here are residents just like you, so it doesn't fall on deaf ears. It's not easy sitting up here when you have all the arrows and daggers coming your way, but we have to make a decision for 90,000 residents in our city here. And we're up here trying to do the best job with the information that we have. So we're going to come up with a new date here shortly for you. Hopefully by the end of the week, we can publicize that and we will come back on items I and J. Other than that, is there a motion to adjourn for this evening?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Preston, seconded by Vice Mayor Hudak. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?